Hello and welcome to my channel where I'll be talking about things that most artists don't talk about for reasons based on the idea that maybe it's something that they don't find important, or because they feel it's just too normal, or maybe they don't even go deep enough to think about what is required, in terms of, their experiences and getting these things straight. So I'll be talking about something here, which is what I call artistic vision. Now, what is artistic vision? Artistic vision is the way people look at things, and that is a very big problem when it comes to, trying to render images, from reality, from objects, or from the imagination. And most times people tend to have different views on how they see things. And that is what I because when I started drawing the human form, when I got into anatomy, I was seeing the human head. I was seeing it in some areas I saw cylinders, in some areas I saw cubes, in some areas I saw circles, which was a combination of these forms together. So for me, I feel that as artists, as individuals, we live in an age where we are tending towards individuality, where we have moved from mass assembly line knowledge, to specialized knowledge management kind of courses, and then today we have a massive online courses, and today now we have direct access to information at the speed of thought. In other words, if I want to learn something, I can just go straight to YouTube, just like you are doing right now. So what struck me is that in this artistic vision, you have various ways that people look at things. In other words, we have secular vision. We have secular vision. Some people see things in a secular way. We have triangular vision, where people see things, where objects are expressed as triangle. We have, can call these square vision or cubical vision. If you project it on three-dimensional surface, and then we have, all the various forms. And then we have, lines that tend to help to express. So now when we look at these forms, we can see that the secular vision can come in as a sphere. Comes in as a sphere where maybe you have light coming from here. And then, it's in all this space. And you have, something like a shadow. We call this spherical vision. Now this has three visions attached. You can have a conical vision. If you look at it directly, you can build a conical vision from a triangle, which is more like a combination of a triangle and a circle. So it's more like a cone. And then we have what we call the pyramid, still a triangular vision, but now we are having a combination of a triangle and a square. Sometimes it could be two triangles, you get what I mean? It could just be three triangles, sometimes it could be four. And then we have conical vision. Okay, this is conical vision. And then we have cylinder. We have cylindrical vision. So now in my own expressions, it turns out that cylinders have really been fascinating for me, because if you look at this here now, you can actually have a circle here. Maybe we can look at it this way. So you can see here as a cylinder, you have a circle. If we go graphical, for example, if we're simplifying the image, you're seeing a full circle, and then here you are seeing a square. So it's a combination of this square. Sometimes you can look at this as in various ways, like a square, like a rotating square. In other words, you can look at it like a rotating square, or like a rotating square where you have, this square here, and it's supposed to be from here, and then when it's rotating, if it's rotating, you have your cylinder. And in this particular form too, you also see here that it is a triangle, a rotating triangle. When you rotate this triangle from here, you have a cone. So basically, when we look at formation of forms, it all begins with a line. And it begins with a point, which is a point of contact, which I'll also be talking about. From this point, you extend the point, you get a line. When you extend the line, you get a shape. In other words, this line, you are moving this line together. So here we can say we have a point that you project here, which creates this line. And this line now, when you drag this line here, you have a shape. And then when you take this same line, that is a shape, this same shape rather, and you project it in 3 dimensions, you extend this shape, you have a form. So it's a progression from this point, that we get the forms that we deal with. So when we talk about this vision, we're looking at a situation where we are able to express ourselves using these basic ways of saying things. So sometimes when you look at a human head, it will amaze you to see that, something like this. For a human head, this is already a circle, and then, by the time you chop off this place, this is like a square, there's a rectangle rather, and then, maybe we'll have something like this. So what do we have here? This is a square, forming, from the human head, trying to form the human head when you look at it in that context. And this neck itself, we could also see it as a cylinder, see it as a cylinder. And then the face that we're looking at here, we can put these same shapes. They come in very little forms, in little details, and then we begin to add more details and things like that. And then but basically, this same shape, for example, we can also create it from this shape, this long oval shape, and then we have something like this. Maybe we'll have to add something behind, and then we have our shape being formed in almost the same way that we're looking at the form that is being created. So how we look at these things, they really matter in terms of the outcomes of how our art will really turn out. So whether it's a cup or shape or whatever it is that we're drawing, it's very vital for us to be able to identify the visions that really relates to us. So when we approach drawing, when we try to draw or try to create things, we need to look out for those things that truly appeals to us, because that is where we begin to grow our skills from. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It's talking about artistic vision. These are things that most artists don't talk about. But the surprising thing in conclusion is, when you begin as an artist, you tend to draw, forms in many different. You're trying to draw one form with different shapes, by combining them together and everything. But then when you begin to get to mastery, you realize that, from multiple shapes, you begin to have, these multiple shapes. When you add them together, they begin to form, they begin to, which means that as the artist, you now begin to synthesize, synthesis, synthesize. When your personal method of synthesis, when you begin to synthesize, you realize that beginners, they start with many forms in projecting, an object, while masters, they use few forms to project many objects or multiple surfaces. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, subscribe. It's the first video in this channel, and I look forward to having you. I would like to know what your vision is, and let's see how we can have a conversation on the areas that artists don't talk about. So what challenge do you have? What do you think about this vision? Is this something that you use in creating your art, or is something that is just off the cuff? It's just subliminal, it's subconscious. So let's bring them to the fore, because for me, I believe that these are the subtleties that turn the beginner, the amateur, to becoming a true artist. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.